The Invisible Maze. Next day, when Joe came back to school, Akash and Tim shouted, "Mad, sad, bad Joe! Mazy, crazy, lazy Joe!" The others shouted and ran rings around Joe in the middle of the playground. Iram stood beside him. "Crazy, lazy, mazy," Akash yelled. "Silly people," Iram said. Miss came out to see what they were doing. "We're playing mazes, Miss," said Tim. Miss laughed. "That's good," she said. She could not hear what they were shouting. At break, Joe stayed indoors and helped Miss find lost scissors. At lunchtime, he hid in the toilets. At afternoon play, it rained and they could not go out. Miss sent them to the hall to run about. The maze game started again. Joe sat under a table and held his key. Iram went up to Akash. Akash was yelling, "Mad, sad, crazy, mazy." "I'd rather be crazy than nasty," Iram said. "I'd rather be sad than stupid." "You don't want to be like Mazy Joe," Tim said. "I don't want to be like you," said Iram. And she did not run away. When people were rude to Tim and Akash, they ran away quickly. Iram just stood and stared and glared. Tim and Akash went on shouting, but they did not shout so loudly. Joe wished he were small and brave like Iram, but he was only small. After school he went away alone and opened the gate with his key. He ran his maze all alone. One morning Joe saw Iram standing by the lonely gate. Iram said, "Show me your maze, Joe." "No," said Joe. "But I believe you," Iram said. "I don't think you're making it up." Then Joe remembered how Iram had told him that the key might open the lonely gate. He remembered how Iram stood beside him when the others played mazes. "All right," said Joe, and he unlocked the gate. "Can you see the maze?" Joe said. "Yes," said Iram. "Run round it then," Joe said, in case she was pretending, and Iram ran along the path. She could see it too. Joe looked round the gatepost at the grassy field. All he could see was Iram running backwards and forwards, round and round. The maze was invisible. Every day after that, Joe and Iram unlocked the lonely gate. When no one was looking, they ran the maze. The others came and stood in the road and laughed. They could see Iram and Joe, but the maze was invisible. The Frost Maze. One morning it was cold and there was white frost on the grassy field. When Iram and Joe unlocked the gate and ran the maze, they left footprints. No one else was there. Afterwards, Joe locked the gate and they looked around it, round the gatepost. The maze was invisible, but the footprints were still there. Running round and round, backwards and forwards. "Let's show the others," Iram said. "No," said Joe. "But now they will believe you," Iram said. Joe thought about this all day. He wanted to be believed, but he wanted to keep his secret maze. At home time, some snowflakes fell. Joe and Iram ran to the grassy field, and the footprints were still there, in the frost. They had not melted, but the snow was beginning to cover them up. Joe unlocked the gate and they started to run the maze, round and round, backwards and forwards. The snow got deeper and deeper, so they ran the maze again to keep the path open. The others came along. They stood in the road and watched. Then they ran on the grassy field. "Stop them," Iram said. "Their footprints will spoil our footprints, and we will all lose the maze." Joe stood still. He thought. "Go back," he shouted. "I'll let you in through the lonely gate." The others went back. Joe unlocked the gate and let them in. "Can you see the maze?" Iram said. And they all said, yes. Then follow me, said Joe. And then they all ran the maze, one behind the other. When they got to the middle, and they turned around and went back to the gate. But the snow was still falling, so they turned round and ran the maze again. And then Iram said, look! There in the road was her mum, and Joe's mum, and Akash's granny, and Tim's dad. Miss was there too. They had come to look for the children, all the mums and dads and grannies. They stood in a row and looked at the grassy field. Now it was a field of snow. What can you see? Called Joe. And they all called back, we can see a maze. It was not a turf maze any longer. It was a snow maze. Everyone could see it now.